I would like to be involved as well, because I'm technically oversee the assessor supervisor. But we have to obviously forum considerations, so maybe we could schedule 2 meetings or something, Zoom, or maybe have her come up here back to back. But yeah, I think it'd be a good idea for all of us.
Yeah, I'd really like to sit down and talk with her.
Okay, great. It was very valuable. Thank you
Yes,
guys for
it was a
approving
very
us to
good
go.
meeting. I'd like to go to as much education as I possibly can. So, there's stuff coming up in October for retreats.
That's on our new business.
Oh, okay.
So the last item under old business was fee schedule. I think we tabled it last time, but I wanna table looking at the fees on other, we set land divisions at $50, but we wanted to revisit variances, rezones, those types of applications. I would like to table that. Just haven't had a chance to do the research and comparisons that I want. But I did wanna bring up we do have some land divisions where the people have, had inquired or started the process before we got the fees instituted, and I would like to waive the fees for them, just because when they asked, we told them there was no fee.
Yes.
But if they haven't, I think we need to kind of cut that off at a certain date. Like if you apply, you got, I don't know, 3-6 months to apply, and you're not gonna be charged the fee, but if they wait a year and come back, obviously you can't do that.
Right.
So.
And, I had created, like, for the land division, and I think I gave you a copy, or, anyway, so I had these on there. One in particular gentleman, I didn't have it done yet, so I did tell him, but he's the only one that I had actually talked to about waiving anything.
Okay.
So,
But we do
we've
have
got
the
probably 3
two.
or 4 now in the hopper.
Okay, well, the 2 that were for the variance requests, they
Yes.
actually came for the land division piece first. That's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
So the
but
board,
they didn't make out.
I guess I just wanted to bring that up to the board, make sure there was no objections with that. Again, maybe we have to set a cutoff of, we'll waive it for up to so many months, but if you don't do anything with it, we can't hold it open indefinitely, so. Okay, moving on to new business, ZBA alternate. So, we got someone interested in applying to one of our, governing bodies, the Zoning Board of Appeals. Ginger Imhoff is here today, and you all got her email that she sent, giving a nice little summary of why she's interested and what some of her background is, and I just would like to open it up if you wanna say a few words, Ginger, about yourself.
It's time. It's time for me to get involved in something, and zoning just seems, since my husband was on the zoning board, do you know how many years, Todd? I don't know. We were married 20 years, and he was on the board for a few years before we were married.
He was the zoning administrator, right?
Yes, the zoning administrator, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, before date, yeah. And so I have quite a bit of basic knowledge, and I always went on all the runs with him. We were inseparable. And it just felt like a good fit for me and a good fit for you. So if you're interested, I would be more than interested in stepping up and filling that position.
Well, we are very grateful that you have stepped up and volunteered. We've advertised in the paper, we've posted on the website, and we somebody like you who has some knowledge and experience in it, I think you'd be a great candidate. Anybody have any questions for Ginger? Anything specific? And this would be an alternate position, but we're hoping to have a organizational meeting for the Zoning Board of Appeals, because everybody's new on it. But we'll be figuring all that out in the next months, but I'm hearing no more questions. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we appoint Ginger Imhoff to the Zoning Board of Appeals as an alternate member.
Support.
Have support. Motion has been made and supported. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So welcome and thank you very much. We really appreciate the participation. So we'll be in touch as far as next steps and kind of getting everything ducks in a row. So. Okay, next item is a TA 116 correction. And everybody in their packets should have had a resolution, that Todd put in there.
This was that letter, I don't know if you saw that.
Yep, I did see that. So, we got a letter from, the taxpayer's attorney, that they are, have to make a correction to a PA 116 agreement where, in the original legal description, and this agreement goes back to 2003, there was a small portion of the neighbor's property that actually got lumped into the agreement. And, they have to fix that now. I talked to the attorney this morning and I said, well, how does the state review these or what happened? He said, well, anytime you make a transfer or sell any property or corrections, whatever, to a property that's in PA 116, the state pulls it for a review. So he said that's likely what happened here. And it's just a very small 54 by 200 section of property that got lumped into the agreement. And in order to release that, we had to have the assessor submit a listing of taxable values for the last, I think, 7 years or so, just for that little sliver that was improperly included, and a letter on letterhead regarding that. And then they also need a resolution approval from the zoning authority, which is the township board, indicating that at least one structure on the parcel to be removed from the PA 116 predates the original execution date of the PA 116 agreement. And so I dug through, we had a file on PA 116 agreements and then found out that it was 2003. And then I pulled the assessor card and to see that it's actually the garage. There's a little piece of the garage that is actually on this little sliver. And so that's what this resolution Todd has. I don't know if you want to read the main parts of it there.
Whereas on today's date, Township Board received a request from Kenneth and Vicky Rader for approval to have a certain parcel released from farmland developer rights agreement. To give the property ID number, which was executed in accordance with provisions of PA 116 of 1974, commonly known as the Farmland and Open Space Preservation Act. Whereas the Township Board has received a request and determined that at least one structure located on the parcel was present prior to the original execution of said agreement, and whereas the parcel proposed for release from the agreement is 2 acres or less in size, or documentation for larger than 2 parcels, and whereas the Township Board finds that the request for the release of the particular parcel is also acceptable. And then it goes on and gives a legal description.
And they're including the full legal description on that, of the whole neighbor's piece, which isn't, maybe, I don't even know if it's more than an acre. But he's including that in there just as a precaution, because they didn't have one written for just that little sliver. But our main thing is we're certifying that at least one structure located on a certain piece of property was present prior to the original execution. And the only way I could do that was to pull the assessor card, and when you pull, I mean, this is from like the 70s, 80s, and you can see this garage was in the picture, and that is actually, you can see on the map that he provided that it kind of cuts through there, so I think I'm comfortable approving this. So I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution for partial termination of farmland development rights agreement with pre-existing structure. Is there a second on that? Support. Okay, motion's been made and supported. Any other discussion?
How would that have happened if you have a legal description that describes one person's property, but also somebody else's property gets attached to that in this PA 116? How would that have occurred?
Well, from what I can tell in looking back on the part in the assessor's records, there was some transfers of ownership and some splits that took place. And I guess when you look back at that, you can kind of see how maybe it would have got missed. I think it was just a clerical error, but I don't know the answer to that.
So make out an application for PA 116, you don't have to prove, like a survey or, do you have to have a legal description? You have to have a legal
I don't
description?
think you used to have it.
Oh. Or drawing?
Yeah, so this would have been back in like 2003, and there was a split application of that smaller piece. So I don't know the specifics of how it happened. My understanding for PA 116 is they applied to
for the PA 160
Okay,
application.
but obviously you weren't doing it back in 2003, so this isn't something you would have looked at, but, yeah, I don't know the answer to how it happened, I just know it was an error, so. Any other discussion?
My only thinking on that was, I don't know if that was the original homestead for that property or not. Like, the place in Gregory's, we have that house in the corner was not included in the P 116 because it was a tenant house. So we pay separate on that, but that's why I'm wondering if that wasn't part of the whole homestead, you know, the whole place, and then when they took it out, sold the house, kept the land.
They forgot to carve that out.
Yes, it didn't get carved out, cause I mean, it took us 2 years, we assumed the house one was a P 116, and then the state started throwing it back to us when we bought it, and then that's when we finally figured out that it wasn't.
And the taxable values that she came up with, they were very small, I don't know if you have it there, Todd, minute. What
It
she
was just for that little sliver, right?
Yeah, I mean, the $1,200 to $1,400 was,
54 feet by 200, it's less than a quarter
so
acre.
we're very small taxable value of the impact, but they do need to get it corrected, is what they're saying.
And is it, they pay that then? They go back and pay that?
I don't know.
I think they're going forward with the taxation here. This is for future years.
No, we
So they went back to
had go back
2017.
and pay that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They
Oh, I read it.
Yeah, she
And
went back
is
to
it-
2017.
Who pays that, Raiders or the neighbor? Because it wasn't the neighbor's fault, right?
I guess that would, I guess it depends on what the neighbors was paying on their taxes. If they were paying on their full parcel dimensions, then, there's really no impact, right?
Well, it sounds like that little piece does have a liability, a tax liability.
Right, but for PA 116, you still pay your property taxes, and then you apply for a credit. So these people, I can't imagine were applying for a credit on their taxes, it would have been the farmer who would apply for that. So everything I'm getting, it's just a administrative correction that needs to be made. So, anything else? We'll do a roll call vote on this. Myers?
Yes.
Reeser? Lincoln?
Yes.
Burnwell? Clark Hubbard, yes. Motion passed. So I'll, can you email that to their attorney?
Yep.
And, probably the assessor?
Yep.
Also? Okay, got that taken care of. Next thing is building keys. So, I got another request, from Phil to ask if we should get Jenny a key to the office, now that she's helping with being the secretary on the planning commission, and I'm hesitant to give out any more keys because I feel like there's a lot floating around out there. And I feel like we need an inventory of who has keys and to which rooms, because we have our office, we have our election room, and we have our utility storage closets. And
The office and the election room are the same key.
what's office and election? Okay, so let's just start here. So all 5 board members, this board here, all 5 of us have the office/election room key.
Right.
Do we all need access to the election room?
3 of us do.
Okay.
You, myself, and Joyce.
Okay. That begs the question, do we need a different lock on the election?
We do.
I think we need to look into doing that.
I have not had a chance to call Builder's Glass that installed the new facades to see if we can get the electronic swipes.
Key cards.
I'll call them, I haven't had a chance.
Yep, okay, that's another thing too, so the library has a key to just the building. And they hand it out to citizens, which hasn't, to our knowledge, been any problem, but in theory, somebody could go make a copy of the key if they wanted to. That's where the key card would, having that badge to swipe would be a pretty slick policy, and it would, I guess, reduce that risk.
Unless the power goes out.
It's lost, yeah. And I think the village has a key card system, so talking to Darren, maybe we talk to him. So that's a potential, and then, so no one else has a key to the office, because the assessors maybe
Dutch
think that
does.
Dutch has a key to the office, right?
Yeah, the deputy clerks have keys.
Okay. Dutch and Miranda, okay. And then assessors, I think she said she has a key to the office.
She does, she has to get
That's how
around.
she accesses her file cabinets.
Okay, so she has access to the election room too. So yeah, we gotta get that fixed, ASAP. How much are doorknobs?
25.
Maybe we just get that done as a temporary fix and look at the key cards down the road or whatever. Back to the building as a whole, the village has a key to the building,
Darren has a key.
okay? And that
He only has a key to the front entry door.
front only,
Why?
okay? And the fire chief,
Fire chief has a key to the front entry and the utility room where the siren controls are.
okay, utility, siren, so the siren is controlled from this building,
Correct.
okay? Okay, anyone else have utility keys? I have a utility room key,
I do what Dutch does.
okay? You, Todd?
Yeah,
Probably. But Marcy and David probably don't.
Well, if you gave Marcy
Yeah,
Larry's
no,
key, she would have.
I have a
everything.
key, cause when I was here with Dave Frost, I got the key.
Okay, Marcy and Dutch have utility.
I make a motion, change all locks.
Who else? Library,
Library has about 3 or 4 keys to just to the front doors.
just to the building.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anybody else? Well, Phil has a key to the office, election again, yeah. Anyone else that we can think of? I think,
So, because when we changed those front doors, we threw out the old keys, everybody turned in what they had, and we issued keys to who you just described. And to my knowledge, there hasn't been any more, I haven't made any more.
okay. Well, I think at minimum, we need to get the lock changed on the election room, because only 3 people need
Should have-
access
yeah,
to that.
exactly.
And then I think we look into maybe the badge system, key card / badge, with the cost, maybe that's an ARPA,
Yeah, their locks are not terribly expensive.
but I
So
think,
would that key card be for the outside of the building or for the rooms?
I think,
We were thinking these entry doors
yeah,
when we talked last week, because you could issue those to the library and only anybody who would need them, and you can't really go duplicate those. You can't walk into hardware and get one made.
sure.
Can you deactivate one if one becomes lost?
Yeah,
Yes, you can.
I don't know, I haven't looked
Yeah,
into it.
but
I
that's
haven't talked
a
to
point
anybody
you
about
can
it,
ask.
but it works at the village offices, they don't have an issue. They have generators.
Okay, so we kind of did a key inventory here of what we think's out there. Let's get the locks changed on the election room.
I would make a suggestion that we also change the lock on the treasure or the office room, because that lock is so old that you can't
Yeah.
get you have to finagle it so bad.
Yes, it's very, very sensitive, so I'm good with that too. Obviously, it'll have to be 2 different locks.
Right, you want it by motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we change, the lock on the election room.
Support in the office, obviously.
Well, yeah, I guess in the office, one motion, we talking here? Okay, so election room has its own, office room has its own, you supported, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay, motion carried. And are you gonna do that, or?
I'll
They're just in shape.
fix them up somewhere.
Okay, you would install it yourself. Okay, almost done here, fall retreats, so, if you guys got your magazine, there was a big printout or insert in here for the fall, retreats. There's a clerk's retreat through the MTA, a trustees retreat, planning and zoning team retreat, supervisor's retreat, and a treasurer's retreat, and they're all at different times, but they're in Harbor Springs. And, a lot of good breakout sessions, for each one, and I guess the early bird rate I confirmed with the MTA ends 3 weeks before each event. So the clerk's retreat is September 26th and 27th, so if you want the early bird, the deadline is September 4th. So I guess my first question is, who's interested in going to the retreats? Marcy, for a trustee,
trustee.
and just so you know, if one trustee goes and then the other one also goes, you get $60 off. They give you a $60 discount.
What is it taking?
The trustees is October 3rd and 4th. So your deadline, I don't know if that would be before our next meeting or not. we could approve it and you could decide later, I guess, if you don't wanna go and you obviously don't register, you want that early bird. Joyce, do you have any interest in the treasurer's?
When is it?
That is October 10th and 11th. Clerks is the 26th.
Gotta work.
Okay. Okay, so you would, no on the treasurer, cause you have to work, so, okay.
I'm out of vacation days this year.
Would your deputy be interested in going? Yeah, I don't know, she heard us.
Yeah, she's.
October 10th and 11th.
And I guess while she's looking, Todd, do you,
I'm not planning on attending, no.
okay, does you think Miranda has any interest?
She's gonna be.
She's having a baby.
Oh, she's having a baby, okay, all right, okay.
I can't go.
So,
I can't go.
can't make it, okay, so that would be a no on treasurer, no on clerk. Marcy's a for sure wants to go, David's a,
October 34th.
yeah,
You put me down, I don't, that's not a good time for me.
okay, let's see, we'll,
Yeah.
put it, when's that early bird?
Oh, when's it expire?
I didn't write that one down, but it's probably like a few days after yours, yours is September 4th. So we might have it by the meeting on that one. And then I would like to go to the supervisors, that's October 5th and 6th. So the cost to attend is early bird rate, $365 a person, and that is over the course of 2 days. And then again, you can get a $60 off if two attend the same session. So we'd have that cost, and then our, obviously our per diem and hotel cost, which they give the rate, group rates through the MTA. So, the other question I wanted to ask is, do we wanna offer that up to maybe a couple of the planning commission members to see if they'd be interested in going? It looks like they had quite a few, good topics, for planning and zoning. Meeting guidelines and ground rules, out of order, managing meeting, hot potatoes, hot topics in planning and zoning, renewable energy update, decision making by the book. How the heck do we enforce our ordinance? What you can and can't regulate and why, gotcha, don't take the bait. So, kinda feel like we should offer it up to at least
Well,
maybe a couple.
it's offered to them, isn't that the same magazine they get?
Well, Phil should get this magazine.
But we should offer it to them if they didn't get it, I think some of them get that,
Okay,
I don't know if they all do.
yeah, it depends on if they're entered in the system.
Okay.
So, I guess, what do you think we need to do as far as to get approval?
We have training already in the budget for everybody,
Okay,
I
so,
don't think we need anything unless you want a motion to allow Marcy to enroll.
and,
Or you would?
yeah, I
Oh,
wanna go
sorry.
too.
I'm sorry.
I guess we'll, maybe we'll do a motion for Brandy, I'll make the motion for, Brandy, Marcy, and possibly David, and make the offer to two planning commission members to attend the conferences. Is there a second?
Support.
Okay, motion's been made and supported, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed? We will work to get that, figured out. Yep, I will make a note, to talk to Phil. Up to 2 members, and then they can report back to everyone else. And the last thing, again, I don't think this will take a lot of time, I don't wanna get into the nitty gritty, but I wanna talk about ARPA. I think we were at about 60,000 left we've spent for security unless we get the grant. And the assessor additional, which is working through right now, so I'm thinking we're probably around 50, although we did just have, I think that excluded that 7,500 too, we had factored that in.
I didn't run a total on that.
Yeah, but ish, that's kind of where we're at, we'll say 40 to 50. And I'd like to think about how we wanna spend that, and I think we need to prioritize it based on, what are some of the risk items that are out there, such as the computer equipment upgrades, other computer infrastructure and storage, possibly a key card system. The website, I had gotten a couple quotes from some vendors and they keep following up with me, have we done anything? I'm just not there yet to, I'd like to be able to get a projector so they could give us a demonstration of websites so the board could look at it, but I think we need to really start thinking about prioritizing how we wanna spend that down. And I think it needs to be based on our risk, and then after that, maybe we open it up to, you know,
We have till about April 24 to have it, a projected expenditure, it doesn't have to be spent. It has to be allocated, yeah.
okay. So, and I'd rather not be pushing up against that deadline, and, but again, my thoughts are, what's the risk items that we need to do now? And then maybe some, beautification, if you will. I know that there's, people have said, that carpet's really old in the office, maybe we could do new flooring or something. People have asked about a sign on the building, that's an option. So I know some of our chairs are getting a little rickety, I don't, you know, do we, look at that, but I guess what's the board's thoughts on ARPA? And, what do you think we should spend it on?
I agree with you, when it comes to the computers, the building itself, the generator, I thought that was a great idea.
Anybody else have any?
We talked about finishing the bathroom floors, because they're falling apart.
Yeah, which doesn't sound like it's beautification, it's, they're falling apart. You know, so those types of things, I think we get our list together and then rate it by risk and start spending it down so that we're not running up against a deadline. So I wanted to keep that at the forefront of everybody's minds, but, unless there's anything else the board has, we'll move right into public comment. I know we're going a little over tonight. So, public comment. Okay, could you state your name and where you're from?
Yeah, Bruce Ackley from Cato Township.
Okay.
A few years back, there was a petition to blacktop the road, Bacchus Road between Town Line and Tamarack Road. And some people signed that and stuff. And at the time, I talked to Larry Gilbert and Henry Burnwald, who was on the board, and they pretty much assured me that that was a dead deal. It was, we can't afford to maintain the blacktop roads we do have, and why would we blacktop that road to nowhere? And I've been hearing talk about it lately, that they're thinking about blacktopping that again. Has that been a discussion?
Not recently. Is this out toward Town Line Lake?
Yes.
Okay. Is this kind of what, like Penny and Sue?
No.
No.
This is something different.
Tamarack Road, Bacchus going north off from Tamarack, correct?
Yes. I
To
did
Town
call,
Line, Road.
Yes, to Tamarack.
I did call Mark at the road commission last Thursday and asking that very question. I heard a rumor that there was some work going on in Bacchus. They basically are fixing those washouts that you were talking about. The road commission has no plan to blacktop that at this point.
And Cato Township has.
Well, it's the road commission's road, or the county road. We have to participate and help pay for it if we did agree to blacktop it.
Okay, that was my only question.
At this time, no, and, yeah, I guess, I wasn't aware of that one. One I was thinking of was out closer to Town Line.
They've been out there working on the washouts,
Okay, but,
mulberry.
all right. Anybody else? Public comment? Jenny?
I would just like to reinforce Marcy's idea on putting a generator at the building. I've been coming to these meetings for almost over 2 years now, going on 3. And I've yet to really see anything that Cato Township does for Cato Township people. And when we lose power, or when things like this happen, when catastrophes happen, we don't offer anything for these people, a place to go. So I think it's important that we have a place like that. And as a township, and as for all the people in the township, that they know that if something happens, they have a place to go. So I think the generator should be like at the top of the list. And also I'm for any kind of upgrades in the cemetery and getting the cemetery plotting digitalized. Because I don't know what the cemetery plotting looks like, but I can't imagine it looks a whole lot better than most of the other townships around here, which have found a complete disaster in their cemeteries. And we only have one. They have 2 to 4 in our neighboring townships to deal with. We have 1, and we can't even deal with them. So I think that we should like really put that at the top of the list too, and see what we can do with it. And I don't know about the keyless thing, the entries, but aren't they like a passcode? Like given a passcode for the day or something, so you can change the code on the door for an event?
I haven't seen too many
that's
of
how
those,
some
most of them are
townships
just a
do it.
badge that you swipe and it beeps at you and unlocks the
And
door.
it deactivated at the end of that day, cause like that person that's got that pass card can get in anytime if they don't take it back to the library. And we don't seem to have a whole lot of like communication as to how many cards they're keeping and whatever, so I just was kinda curious about that. I think there's other ways you can do it, you can authorize like a passcode for the day, and then it's done. You just give it out or whatever, so that was just an idea. But, and also, when it goes to having me with a key for the planning commission, I really don't see any reason for me to have a key. I mean, I'm there taking minutes, and they all have to go before the planning commission board before they get authorized, and anything else they might have me do, but I don't see any reason why I have to have a key to come into this building.
I think in the past, the secretary has had one, so I think he was just asking.
Well, yeah,
so,
but
I
you were
think-
also on the planning commission,
Yeah,
so that
that
was
makes
like a whole different situation.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I don't really see any reason for it.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, we'll have to close public comment, we get a motion to adjourn. Make a motion to adjourn.
Rules.
Okay.
Rules.
Made and supported, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'll support it.